Always appreciate my next guest making some time. He's the #4 ranked heavyweight, Curtis Blaydes. Curtis, thanks so much for doing this, man. I wanted to start first with, how are you doing, man? How's everything?
I'm good. I've been back in the gym for like almost a month now, and yeah, I'm just ready to get back in there and get rid of the taste of the loss.
And you know, might as well start there with the fight with Sergei Pavlovich. I think one of the things that people ask sort of going into that fight or sort of watching it after the fact is, why didn't you wrestle? What do you say to those people in that fight? Because obviously Sergei's world class.
Just didn't feel like I had the space, and he capitalized on my hesitation, and it's heavyweight. You don't really have a lot of margin for error. So, and I paid the price for my hesitancy.
What was the plan, to wrestle and you just couldn't get the takedown, or you felt like you couldn't get the takedown, or was it to just, you know, test your stand-up as well? Because obviously you have good stand-up too.
The plan was to be organic and to let the takedown appear. Didn't want to force anything, and it just, the opportunity had never appeared, or I missed it, or
Yeah, that's going to happen. Is there anything else you can take away from that fight? I know it wasn't that long, but I'm sure you've gone back, watched the fight, or your coaches have. What did you sort of take away from that?
I just got to be more locked in. I got to come out with more intensity. I usually like to use that first round as like a feel out round, and I've been able to get away with that. But there's some guys who don't use that round as a feel out round. They use it as the exact opposite. And Sergei is one of those guys. He comes out hot, hard, and fast. And yeah, like I said, I hesitated and paid the price for that.
How have you dealt with the fans? I know, you know, last time after the Lewis loss, people were really crappy on social media, I'm sure. And now everyone's an expert, obviously, when a fight like that happens, you know, you should have done this or whatever. How have you dealt with that this time around?
I'm at the point where I don't listen to fans. I mean, I'm in at that point, but since the last loss to this loss, yeah, I'm at that point where I don't listen to people who don't do what I do. It's one thing for a contemporary to have an opinion. I'll listen, maybe take some insight, hints, whatever. But like random people who don't, or even people that do MMA, but they're not doing it at the level I'm doing it at, there's not a whole lot of validity to anything they have to offer, because they're not on this level. So that's just how I do it. And it's gotten easier the longer I've been in this position. It's easy to block out the noise.
Well, I think if you put it in the context, I mean, we all get bad comments. I mean, it just sucks that, you know, obviously like yours is on, you know, you have a bad day at work and everyone can criticize it. You know, not everyone has the same opportunity. But what I always remember is like, you know, you wouldn't hear a garbage man go to a doctor's office and give him medical advice. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you look at it that way, it just makes things a lot easier, right?
Exactly. That's the better one. I'll use that one.
Yeah. That's my go-to quote. I've used that for a while here. And is it a matter of just staying off social media? Do you block people? Like, how do you go about dealing with that? Because people have access to you, which kind of sucks. But I mean, there's a good and the bad. You get the good fans, and then you get the crappy ones too.
For one, I'm not really on social media as often as I was in like the last year and a half. I haven't really been that big into social media, so that's a big thing. And just I focus on my own little world. I don't really think about the outside world, because I have enough on my own plate. I don't have any space to add on anything else, and that makes it easy.
Yeah. No, well said, man. So with Sergei winning, everyone's kind of wondering what's next. I have this theory here, and I want to see if you share this. I don't think he ever fights Jon Jones. I think Jon is going to either fight Stipe or he doesn't. And I think even if he does fight Stipe, I think that's it. I think he's got one fight left. It's Stipe, whether he takes it or not, or whether it happens or not. And that goes on. Do you agree with that, or do you think Sergei and Jon is a possibility?
I think it's a possibility, but I'm not high on it. I could definitely see things turn out how you just said. Obviously, he's gonna make a whole lot of money after this fight with Stipe, and hell, what if he loses? He
Yeah.
loses, and they get to run it back, and they get to make a little more money. But if he wins, yeah, I could definitely see that being the end. Because what else does he have to do? Like, and after
Yeah.
that, he could do a boxing fight. I hear he keeps getting called out for boxing. Just a lot more avenues open up after this, so he doesn't really like the UFC would have to really really entice him because at that point he doesn't really need to fight anymore.
Well, I just think like with Stipe, I get it. He hasn't fought in a couple years. He's considered the greatest heavyweight or one of the greatest
Yeah.
heavyweights of all time. And, I think it's a winnable fight. I think with Sergei he's super talented. I'm not talking anything about his talent level, but I just think there's just no upside really to taking that other than getting an extra paycheck. Like I think Sergei is very dangerous. We've seen him knock out a number of opponents now. I just don't see the upside there for Jon. And he could walk away like GSP did when he beat Bisping. It's like, okay, I'm done. I know that was more of a medical thing, but still, like he kind of went out at the right time. You know what I mean? Like he didn't have to. GSP never had to fight a Yoel Romero or Jacare.
And then you always have people like, what if? And I think that's a good thing to have with goats. Like you always want that. Well, who knows what would have happened? You like having that because that's one of the things I think that hurt MJ when he came back and played on the Wizards.
On the Wizards, I know. Yeah.
Got to see like, he's not that good. You don't want to see them like that. You want to remember them at their height, and it's easier to remember them at their height if they retire at their height.
Yeah. Or, an MMA example, Fedor. There's a great example. He kind of hung around a little bit too long. He's getting knocked out by, Ryan Bader and stuff. And I think that was one that it sucks because you know what? Like you and I know the history of the sport. Fedor was one of the best heavyweights of all time. And newer fans are like, oh, this is the guy who got knocked out in Bellator, so.
Exactly.
That's how it is. Okay. So you mentioned being back in training. Ideal time to come back into the cage. When are you looking at having that next fight? Are you even at that point yet?
Most likely the end of the summertime, so like end of September, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of looking there. Kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit. You have been knocked out a few times, as I'm sure you've spoken to doctors and stuff. Is there any thought of maybe taking a little bit of extended time off just in case to kind of let the brain heal and all that? Is that a discussion you've had?
Yeah. No, always after TKO or KO, you want to adjust the brain because I'm always thinking about the future. Yeah, that's always a part of it. I'm not one of those guys after a loss, especially a TKO. I'm not looking to hop right back in there just to prove to the world I know I'm good. I just had a bad night at the office, and I think it's in my best interest to approach this with like delicacy. Like I don't want to like rush it. So yeah, I'm not really in a hurry. I know there's going to be options, there's going to be matchups, and yeah, I'm looking at end of the summer.
Does that kind of change things in terms of your career? Because I know you don't want to take too many. Like I know one thing with Alistair, for example, who you used to train with, he has had a lot of knockout losses, right? Is that something you kind of look at and say, I don't want to be the guy sticking around too long because you're talking about long-term health here?
No, I've always felt that way. I don't think I'm at that point right now, but hey, a year from now, I've got 2 more TKOs, and it's a discussion. I don't think it's going to be like that, but yeah, if the situation was presented like, hey, you're having a lot of L's, ugly L's, yeah, I would leave.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think like someone like Derek Lewis, for example, I think is kind of at that point right now. And I like Derek a lot. I'm just saying it's not fun watching him get finished in the first round all the time, So.
And it happens. That's the sport of MMA.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're old, but you have a name, they're going to give you young, hungry guys to take advantage of that name. So yeah, you're gonna start to rack up losses. You're going against younger, hungry guys.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Okay. Again, you sort of said September. Another guy I know who's looking to fight in September because I talked to his coach recently, Ciryl Gane. Is that an opponent that would interest you? Is there sort of an ideal opponent for you to fight next that doesn't have a fight booked?
After a loss, I'm not really calling out anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I'm in that position. If he's offered, of course I'll take it. But yeah, I'm not. I don't feel like I'm in that position of negotiating. Like I want that guy. Like nah.
Yeah.
So I'm not really. I don't really have anyone with a target on their name. No.
Yeah. So just whoever the UFC comes up with, you'll kind of assess it with the team and say, okay, well, we'll see if that makes sense. Have you spoken to the UFC or is your management recently, or is that still, you kind of waiting a bit for that?
I mean, they talk, but I haven't, nothing about like fight stuff. I haven't really talked. And that's really the only time I'm involved is, hey, do you want this? Yes or no.
Yeah.
I don't really like to do the business stuff.
Yeah, no, that's why you have one of the best managers in the game. I love it over there at Vayner Sports, Lloyd. There is a big fight coming up in your division. Former opponent of yours, Tom Aspinall, is going to be fighting Marcin Tybura. How do you see that fight playing out? That's a big fight for Tom after the big injury you had in your fight.
I believe Tom's better in every area, so he should win as long as he's healthy.
Okay, I love it. Okay, I got some rapid fire questions for you here. Now, you just say what comes to mind first when I say this, so we'll just go through the list here. Who's the best striker in the UFC in your opinion?
Corey Sandhagen.
Okay, who's the best grappler in the UFC?
Oliveira.
Who's the funniest fighter in the UFC?
A lot of funny dudes. Jamal Hill.
Okay, if you could have dinner with any fighter, who would it be and why?
Honestly, any of the Augustani grapplers, I would love to pick their brains on like just how they approach grappling with MMA. I think they really have a unique type of grappling. I'd like to get into that.
Okay, who would you want by your side in a street fight?
Obviously a heavyweight. Honestly, Hui Taivasa. I think he's probably been a lot of scraps in the streets, and he probably knows how to bang like that. So yeah.
Who has the highest fight IQ?
Okanowski.
Okay, and what is a dream fight you want to see? Not you, but just a fight you want to see in general.
Usman Hamzat. I'd like to see that fight.
Okay, there we go. Okay, back to you. We haven't spoken since Francis Ngannou signed with PFL. Just first, before we talk about the move itself, were you surprised by that?
A little bit. I didn't think he would want to do MMA still, but they gave him a lot of money, so I get that.
What do you make of his opponent? Whoever he fights is going to get $2 million. I mean, that's got to feel good for the fighters out there that they're increasing the pay threshold.
I think it's awesome. I think it's going to be a bidding war for everyone's. All the heavyweights are going to want to go up against him, just for the payday.
And what do you make as well? Like it's not all about the money with Francis. Like they're talking about him being on the board with PFL. They're talking about doing I think some events in Africa. Like that seems like a lot of incentive as well. It could open up a lot of doors for fighters just with what Francis decided to do at this point.
I think it's awesome. I think he's thinking long term, big picture. He knows he's a lot closer to the end than he is to the beginning when it comes to his professional MMA career. He's already 37, so he's got like maybe 3-4 more years, but it's not a whole lot. So he's starting to have the foundation for his like next move. I think it's smart. It inspires me to think about the future also like that.
There's a big heavyweight prospect in your weight class that's making some noise. Jailton Almeida, he just knocked out submitted Jairzinho Rozenstruik, a guy that you already fought. What do you think of him? Do you see him as potentially being a contender or maybe even a future champion? What are your thoughts on him so far?
I think he's a specialist. He's very good at the submissions and grappling, the takedown. We haven't seen a lot of his entire MMA game, but he hasn't had to use anything else. So I think, and also heavyweight, anybody can be a title contender, especially when you're non-American. You win 4 fights, you're automatically a contender. So yeah, he can definitely be a contender.
And just one last thing on Francis, I forgot to ask you. Do you think he gets a boxing fight, like a decent name? It doesn't seem like the Fury or Joshua fights are going to happen. What do you think will happen with that boxing side of things? Because he's allowed to do it with PFL, obviously.
Yeah, I think he'll get somebody. It doesn't have to be a huge name, because when you're coming from making 5 million, anything over that's a win. So he could get a. I don't know any of the other heavyweights, but I know there are other heavyweights.
Mm-hmm.
Get one of those guys, you can make 10, 15 million. That's a win. Yeah, it's not like the super payday of like 100 million, but still, that's nothing to scoff at. So yeah, I think he'll get one of those.
Have you been watching The Ultimate Fighter? Your buddy Austin Hubbard's on the show. I think the concept of Ultimate Fighter, of having the veterans on, is a great idea, because you're already seeing prospects already on Contender Series and some of these other promotions. I like a guy like Austin. I'm kind of rooting for, because you want to see him get back to the UFC.
Yeah, I watched the first episode. I'm very happy to see him on there. Very happy to know that he's on the road to getting back into the UFC, because I know that's one of the things he wants to be a champion. And yeah, I do like the aspect of them bringing on vets like Austin to give him another shot to get back, because that's a hard division. 155. There's a lot of guys that get released who are still legit. It just is such a stacked division. Sometimes you lose guys like Austin who are legit, and they have to earn their way back on. I'm just happy they have that opportunity to do that.
And I think you got the right coach, right? Isn't he on Chandler's team? So McGregor didn't even go to the weigh-ins of his fighter.
Not surprised. I'm very happy he ended up with Chandler.
Did you see speaking of which, have you seen the Conor McGregor documentary yet?
No, I'm probably not going to watch it.
No, it's actually pretty good. I'll give you credit, because you know what I think it does a good job of? It shows like fighters losing and what you guys have to go through. And I think that's something we don't see a lot of like the behind the scenes of when you have a tough loss, which I think people are interested in. I think if more fans watch that, they might not be so brutal when it comes to after the fight, right? But probably not. I don't have faith in humanity these days.
Me neither. I don't. I think people just like to see other people lose. I don't know why.
Hate's more popular than being nice. That's for sure. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you know this yet. Are you going to International Fight Week? Because I know sometimes they bring fighters and they do guest appearances. Is that something you've been asked to do yet?
Yeah. I'm probably gonna be in there.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, listen. Last time we were supposed to play Mortal Kombat. Maybe we can make it happen this time. So I'll be out there.
That was on me.
Okay, so it's on video now, Curtis. We've got to make sure. Hopefully, you don't lose a credit card. I think that's what happened last time or something, right? So.
Yeah, I lose a lot of things. You'd be surprised.
There you go. Okay, last question. Always got to ask, as a fellow parent, how's your daughter doing?
She's doing great. School's almost out.
Yeah.
And she's going to be going on a Disney cruise for her birthday with her mom and her aunts and her side of the family. And then after that, she'll be here. And I don't know what we're going to do exactly, but I'm just happy that she's going to be here and we're going to be able to hang out.
Yeah, we're running into the same problem with my oldest, because he's done kindergarten in a couple weeks, and then for the summer we got to figure out something to do, because you got to put him in camps and stuff, and that stuff's expensive, Curtis. I don't know if you've seen the prices for summer camp stuff. It's not cheap, man. So, and then you can't have the kids sitting around all day, so you got to figure out something, right?
You just got to spend the money.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you there. Hey, Curtis, thanks so much for doing this, man. You always make time. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to what is next. But in the meantime, if you got anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, sponsors, social media, anything like that, I'll give you the last word.
As always, I want to give a shout out to Team Elevation, my management, Vayner Sports, and that's about it.
Awesome.